One of the things I've always wanted to ask you is something that a lot of us deal with in all our different ways is stress. How do you manage it? And obviously that's one of the reasons we're talking here today is about the role that stress has played and the factor of your health, how it's negatively affected you. It negatively affects all of us, obviously. How did you go about trying to manage stress in such a stressful job? What were you trying to do to manage that?
I'm obviously the poster child for how not to handle it. You know, it's, and I'm not ashamed. I used to try to hide that, but what I found out when I was at Florida, thousands of emails and letters and people, you know, from doctors to firemen to parents to, you know, single parents to broadcasters to, like you said, name a person that doesn't deal with it. And I imagine they're probably not in a very important job or they don't have much going on. And you know, for 13 years I've been a head coach at you know, the mega programs, Florida and Ohio State. And we came out of the chute so fast at both places. What's good enough? You know, we won 30 straight conference games here. I couldn't tell you the 30. I can tell you the one we lost, and why and how, and the play calls and everything. And that's not healthy. You know, I couldn't tell you the other 30. And they were big wins, a couple overtimes in there. But I could tell you the one loss against Michigan State in a driving rainstorm that cost us a chance, and we went 12-1 or 13-1 that year. And what happened? You know, we lost a game. And I'm not saying that's healthy, but it is what it is.
They don't celebrate the wins as much as they should, and they worry more about, they actually worry watching games. And it's that balance between the joy of winning and the fear of losing. And I wanted to ask you about that because I'd imagine that's one of the biggest things you fought in your career is making sure that you celebrate achievements instead of worrying about what didn't go perfectly. Right. How much have you battled that in your career?
Every second of my life. And I would even practice being somewhat phony to my players because the most important people are them. Who cares about the old guys? Right. But when a player, to win a game is hard. And so for you to not let them enjoy it, and it might sound bizarre, I've rehearsed it to try to, and I talked to myself before you know, we didn't play very well in defense. We made a mistake in kicking game that drives me insane, and I want to dive into someone or, you know, myself, but they have to enjoy it. And I can't say I've been very good at it, but I've been probably much better here at Ohio State, making sure we enjoy the wins.
Did you have to evolve the way that you recruited kids, and not just looking for great football players, but identifying kids that were different, that were leaders? And the reason I ask that is because it seems like in the last few classes in particular, you have found kids that are just different. Like the Terry McLaurins, the Paris Campbells of the world. They're just different. I noticed that in this new class, 3 of the 6 kids who were nominated for, you know, essentially Man of the Year for the U.S. Army All-American game are Ohio State kids. 3 of 6. That's not a coincidence, no. Right? Why is that so focused, such a focus for you?
You know, trial and error. We've had issues in the past where you get caught, where maybe I took an assistant coach's word for it that this guy's going to be all right, and you know, I don't micromanage the talent level and can they play the position. I do micromanage what kind of person they are. Ohio State, you can't survive. Just call it what it is. You cannot come here and survive if you're a bad student or a clown, or you know, you're just a guy that you can't survive here. And I'm not saying we're perfect. We've had a few people not survive, and that drives you insane. You know, why did we bring that person here? And so we've been, I don't want to say extra cautious, but we've been very diligent in our work about who we're bringing here.
What would it take for you, what would have to change for you to even consider coaching again? What would have to evolve for that to even come up?
I haven't even thought about it. You know, I'm hoping that I said this before, I fall in love with something. You know, I fell in love with a student athlete, so I'm hoping I'm going to have an administrative role here. I'm hoping I get knee deep in that, and that fills that void of, because there's a void, huge void. It's certainly not going to be taking walks and playing golf and that's it. See you later. That will not happen. But the Real Life Wednesday, the genuine care for, I am so committed to make sure that no one ever gets used by the system. that drives me. I mean, that you talk about a motivator. To see as much as winning, to go do this is number one. Number two, to see a guy that really had no chance, and you mentor him along, and he grows up and he becomes a grown-ass man. Yeah. He deserves a job. Yeah. And I'm proud to say that by the help of Gene Smith and what we do here and what we've started, we're 100%. If you're a grown-ass man, you're getting a job, and you can now support. You know, society needs that, sure. And we're committed to that.
If you were commissioner for a day, and there's something about the system that you don't like, whether it's student-athlete welfare or the playoff process, is there something that just jumps out to you as saying, I would fix that if I was in charge?
Yeah, I think the amount of money, effort, research, resources put into student-athlete welfare is great. And once again, I don't know everybody's, I know us. Right. And there's no stone that's left unturned as far as you talking about the health of a player, the welfare of a player, whether it be a sports psychologist, whether it be the trainers, you know, all the stuff the science we use to make sure we're not overworking guys and putting our body in harm's way. The only thing I'd look at as the recruiting calendar is I get more concerned with the people that want to speed it up. That's why you're seeing more transfers. That's why you're seeing more people that feel pressured. At the end of the day, commissioners really don't matter. They don't. I know they think they do. Coaches don't matter. I know they think they do. What matters is that 17-year-old person making the decision. And all due respect to some parents and third uncles, you're not really that important. That kid deserves a chance to go live his dream. And if that means he wants to change his mind in December, change your mind. You know, don't force people to do things too early and not have the time to make that decision.
You have won football games at an unprecedented rate. Among active football coaches, it's not even close. Can you pinpoint one reason as to why? Why you? What was unique about you and your approach that you were able to succeed, and not just winning those games, but developing programs and developing kids? Why have you been so successful?
Well, it's really not one reason. I would say number one, if you list 1, 2, or 3, I think it's the genuine care for the kid. If I can get someone, and it's our staff, not I, but all of us, our strength coach and everybody, the genuine love for that player and his family, you can move mountains. There's nothing you can't do. I've surrounded myself with very good players. You look at the history of college football, I'll put my former players against anybody that's ever played a game. They're that good, so we've identified talent. And then there's a standard of excellence that some, you know, I always tell people about Steve Jobs at Apple. You know, I interviewed him one time and said, boy, this is really, you know, you're hard to work for. This is a really hard place. And they said that to Jobs. He said, go look up those hills on the mountain. Ask those people if it was really that hard. This is not for everybody. Ohio State's not for everybody, and that doesn't make you a bad person. You know, if you're going to come here, you have to be the best at what you do. And if you're not the best, you have to figure out how to become the best, and we have to give you the tools. So we're not ashamed of that.